to know.
Hey, what's up? This is fsx23. This is my fourth video. This video is about the problem of evil, and I think this is the best argument that atheists have against theistic claims. And this video was prompted by a debate I saw between David Silverman, who is the president of American Atheists. He's appeared in a couple of my other videos, and an apologist by the name of Frank Turek. And during the debate, Frank decided to play a video in the middle of the debate, which is really odd when you're answering a question. It was during the crossfire, and like Christians normally do, they set rules, but then they violate them constantly, and they just make excuses for it. So first I'll show the interaction where Frank decided to play a video in the middle of a crossfire.
Why does God need babies to be born with cancer?
Hold on.
Please.
Let me.
Yes,
God
bring up your
doesn't
slide.
need it. God might allow it.
Because he's omnibenevolent?
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Let's get there.
Let's get to the benevolence.
I can't say anything better than this 1 minute and 46-second video, which I'm going to show you, and hopefully
I don't
work.
want a video. I want you to tell me.
Oh, I will tell you because I'm telling you through this video. Okay. So stand by.
So this debate was moderated and hosted by a Christian group, and the moderator basically did not interact or interfere with anything unless it involved David Silverman apparently going off the script of what they agreed to. Yet the apologist was pretty much allowed to do whatever he wanted. So he went ahead and showed a video. So I will show you the video that he used as a response.
Is God good? If he is, why is there suffering and evil? Let's assume for the moment that God is all-powerful. This means that God can do anything that is logically possible. So he can create galaxies and subatomic particles and rainforests and you. But God cannot do what is logically impossible. He cannot make a square circle or a one-ended stick. So can God make a rock so big that he can't lift it? No. So what if, when God created human beings, he wanted them to be free? Freedom's a good thing, but if humans are to be free, they cannot be forced to obey God. Because freedom without choice is like a square circle. It's a logical contradiction. No choice, no freedom. God didn't want robots. He wanted real people. The first humans endowed with the awesome power of free choice abused their freedom. The tragic consequences of their bad choice and our bad choices ripple across the world. God is responsible for the fact of freedom, but humans are responsible for their acts of freedom. But let's remember, we don't suffer alone. God will put an end to suffering and evil. And God became a man to suffer with us. God is good, and he wants real people like you to know him, but the free choice is yours.
Alright, so this video is cute and all, but it does not address the problem. The problem is, why is there evil in the world? And their argument is that because we have free will, we have the choice to do right or wrong. Now, the problem that comes up with this is that God created us. God knows everything. So if he creates something and knows what it's going to do, why would you create something that would violate what you want? So when God creates you, he already knows what you're going to do. So in essence, God is choosing what you're going to do. So if Adam and Eve fell, quote, quote, in the garden, that means God wanted that because he created them knowing what they would do, and he chose that. Now, if it was possible logically to create humans that would not fall, then why would God not do that? Well, their argument is that, well, maybe it's not logically possible for God to create humans who would not sin. Okay, well, then God isn't all powerful. It's a logical inconsistency in their worldview that you can create creatures who will not sin. Now, they haven't really justified this or explained it in any way. They're just stating, well, people of free will cannot be created in a way that they cannot sin. And it's an either or situation. Either you can create creatures who cannot sin, or in a better way to put this, you can create creatures who will not sin, or you can create creatures who will sin. Now, if the possibility of creatures who will not sin is not possible, then you, I guess, have chosen to go ahead and create creatures anyway that you know will sin, given that you have all knowledge. Now, the problem comes, well, why is there suffering? Why is there death? Why is there suffering? Why is the world the way it is? Why is the world not perfect? And Christians are essentially saying, well, a perfect world is impossible. Therefore, God decided to create a world anyway. And it's impossible to create a perfect world. Yet they believe in this place called heaven where everything is perfect and people still have free will, which seems like a contradiction. It's absurd. Why would he create a world where the only way to make it work is to have people suffer for eternity? And this comes to another point. The punishment for sin, the fall of man. They say the reason we have cancer, the reason why there's floods and hurricanes and all kinds of disasters is because we sinned. And they haven't justified or explained how that is even possible. Like, what mechanism creates a situation where humans have eaten an apple, they've disobeyed God, and how does that connect to a hurricane or cancer or imperfection? They just say, imperfection, it's a broken world. They just call it broken, but they don't explain how it's broken. Because they can't explain how it's broken, it makes no fucking sense. So I'll go ahead and show another video. I think it's by the same person who made this first video, and he's kind of trying to explain how this makes sense. So let's take a look.
The presence of evil, pain, and suffering in our world is the most persistent argument raised against the belief in God.
Bye.
Usually it goes something like this.
Put your hands up now!
An all-knowing God would know evil exists. An all-loving God would want to prevent evil from existing. An all-powerful God could prevent evil from existing. But evil does exist. Now, given that the fourth proposition would appear to be undeniable, it can be inferred that one of the other three must be false, and thus there cannot be an all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful God. Checkmate.
Yes, checkmate. Those are logically inconsistent.
Or at least some people think that. However, not too long ago, an American philosopher named Alvin Karl Plantinga put forth a new proposition that is intended to demonstrate that it is logically possible for such a God to create a world that does contain evil. This is how he summarized his defense. A world containing creatures who are significantly free and freely perform more good than evil actions is more valuable, all else being equal, than a world containing no free creatures at all. Now, God can create free creatures, but he can't cause or determine them to do only what is right. For if he does so, then they aren't significantly free after all. They do not do what is right freely. To create creatures capable of moral good, therefore, he must create creatures capable of moral evil. And he can give these creatures the freedom to perform evil and at the same time prevent them from doing so.
Hey, let me break in right here. The problem of evil concerns a goal. And the goal would be, obviously, for God to create a good and perfect world. Now, they are talking about your ability to do evil. Now, is God's goal to have creatures who will commit evil? Or is God's goal to create creatures who will not commit evil? Now, they are confusing two ideas. the first idea is that you could create a world where people will not sin. Now, just because you've created a world with a group of people who will not sin doesn't mean they cannot sin. It means they do not sin. And if you're a God and you're all knowing and you're all powerful, you will know if you've created that world that you want before you've created it, or you will not. So basically, their argument is God is all knowing. So God is all knowing. So when he creates a world, he knows if people will sin or not. He will know if he's achieved his goal or not before he creates the world. So why not create a world where people are capable of sinning, but you know they won't sin? Because you know what's going to happen either way. You know they're going to sin in our world, and you know they will not sin in the other world you have the choice to create. So I do not understand how they're addressing this question, but they go for it.
C.S. Lewis would agree, saying, "Imagine a wooden beam became soft as grass when it was used as a weapon, and the air refused to obey me if I attempted to set up in it the sound waves that carry lies or insults. But such a world would be one in which wrong actions were impossible, and in which, therefore, freedom of the will would be void. If the principle were carried out to its logical conclusion, evil thoughts would be impossible, for the cerebral matter which we use in thinking would refuse its task when we attempted to frame them."
So this argument is a contradiction. They are stating that if God knew that we would not sin, then we have no free will. But if God knows we will sin, which is apparently the world we live in, we somehow have free will. Well, either we don't have free will, if God knows everything and creates us, that would be a logical conclusion. But they're stating we do have free will in this world, and God already knew we had sinned, but he didn't control it. But if God created a world where we did not sin, somehow he's controlling it. It's exact same world. It's exact same situation. Either you sin or you do not sin. But they're claiming that if God knows we're going to sin, he is giving us free will because he knows we're going to sin when he created the world. Or he could create a world where people would not sin, similar to heaven, which Christians seem to think they're going to go to, but that is not violating our free will. There seems to be a clear contradiction.
Continuing his defense, Plantinga says, "As it turned out, sadly enough, some of the free creatures God created went wrong in the exercise of their freedom. This is the source of moral evil."
Which God supposedly designed in every way, so it's his fault.
The fact that free creatures sometimes go wrong, however, counts neither against God's omnipotence nor against his goodness, for he could have forestalled the occurrence of moral evil only by removing the possibility of moral good. So, even though God is all-powerful, it is possible that it was not in his power to create a world containing moral good, but no moral evil.
Holy contradiction. So, even though God is all-powerful, he lacks the power to do something. Okay.
Therefore, there is no logical inconsistency involved when God, although wholly good, creates a world of free creatures who chose to do evil.
Well, call me crazy, but I think this is special pleading.
You got to know.